Thank you. Welcome everybody to the Ordinary Council meeting on the Thursday the 21st of August 2025. Thank you for everyone welcome anyone watching. Opening. In accordance with the Weddin Shire Council's Code of Meeting Practice, this meeting will be recorded for the purpose of audio-visual live streaming via Council's website and YouTube channel. Those in attendance are asked to refrain from making any defamatory statements and comply with all relevant Weddin Shire Council codes, policies and procedures at all times. Weddin Shire Council would also like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. Weddin Shire Council would also like to pay respects to the elders, both past and present, of the Wiradjuri Nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present or watching today. Weddin Shire Council honours the service personnel who have sacrificed their lives in the defence of our freedom, our peace and our prosperity. We acknowledge all of our frontline workers and volunteers who each day provide our essential and non-essential services, especially those within our Weddin Shire local government area. Next we move on to our attendances and applications for leave. I think everyone's here today, all the councillors are here. That's the acting General Manager, Mr. Luke Sheen, whether we have any applications for leave? No, nothing, thank you. I say no apologies. No leaves of absence or leaves of absence applications. No councillors. In that case, we'll move on to 5, which was the minutes of the confirmation of the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 17th of July 2025. I have a mover and a seconder, councillors. Yeah, moved by Councillor Gorman, second by Councillor Macon. All those in favour of accepting those minutes as read? Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. So moved. Move on to 6, which is the disclosure of interest. I'll get the Acting General Manager to report on the disclosures of interest for this particular meeting.
We have, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Councillor Neal, item 13.2, employee of company where work is being performed. It's non-pecuniary. Significant, no. Leaving the room, yes. Councillor Rolls, employee of organisation that is, or a tenderer involved with the contract. Item 16.2, that is, it's non-pecuniary, significant no, leaving the room, yes. I'll also be declaring one as the Acting General Manager in relation to item 13.3, so relative to the property owner, it's non-pecuniary, significant no, leaving the room, yes.
Thank you. So next we move on to public forum. We don't appear to have any public forum tonight. No one's contacted us regarding speaking on any matter? No. I don't have any mayoral reports for this particular one. We have no motions or questions with notice. And we can go straight forward, so we'll move on to 10, the Acting General Manager report. Thank you. I'll ask the Acting General Manager, Mr. Luke Sheen, to provide this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So item 10.1, which is just the outstanding action items on the resolution register. So the purpose of this report is just to provide councillors and the public an update on the outstanding actions. So the in there it's got a table which has got some comments around each of the outstanding actions for councillors' information. Probably a couple to note is obviously in relation to the ongoing issue with our rural waste facilities. So we have had some movement with the EPA. We've received some advice back from them in writing to say that they are happy for us to pursue the option of potentially encapsulating friable asbestos, particularly at the Quandialla site. So we had some waste that was classified as friable asbestos. And that was going to be quite expensive to remove from the site as per the original plan. So in the vicinity of $165,000 to $175,000. So we've been working with
per site.
That would be just for the Quandialla site.
Yeah.
So this is friable asbestos, not the obviously bonded and potentially contaminated soils and things. We obviously have been working with those in the background, but the friable stuff was the initial, that's always been on the cards to remove. But we didn't realise how expensive that was going to be. So we have received a letter from them to say, look, they are willing to at least look at that encapsulation on site. We've amended the scope of works with the consultant around the encapsulation plan so that they can factor that in. It just means that friable asbestos has to be buried quite deep, so with 3 metres worth of cover over it. So that's just a bit of more design work in terms of that encapsulation plan. Once we've received that, we've engaged the contractors to do that. Once that comes in, we'll refer that back to the EPA. And if they're agreeable with that plan, then we can start hopefully moving forward with it. So, some of the other ones, I suppose, there is a plan there for around potential pop-up shops. So there has been a little bit of work done in the background, and that'll probably come back to if not next council meeting, the following one. So I think the initial plan was to wait for the new general manager to be appointed, but yeah, there has been a little bit of work done in the background, and we'll hopefully sort of report that back in due course.
Any other questions on any of those matters, councillors? Councillor Gorman?
Can I just say that your letter to the Premier was very impressive, speaking about the how all the funding is now being transferred to the councils instead of the government footing the funding. So I just want to say on behalf of everyone, well done, and I hope it has some results, and I look forward to, can we table their response when it comes back?
Let's see why not. It'll be probably hand around to councillors, but I'm sure we can. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see where we receive a response, but that's
Sure,
we can only
I'll
hope.
answer it. Okay, well, thank you for doing that. I know it took a lot of time.
That's right. No, thank you, Councillor. I think there's probably only I've got is a couple in there. Probably we'll remove as well as we're going along. I think there's one example is that letter. I think there's another couple of ones there we probably can tidy up. There's no need for them to be on the register. They're all completed. So I think which ones are they? We need a resolution on that one So I have a move and a second. We accept those as written, please, councillors. Yep, Councillor Rolls and Councillor Montgomery, please. All those in favour of accepting that report? Aye. Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Lou. Forward. Next, we move on to election of a council committee delegate for the Weddin Health Council. We've received a letter from Councillor Macon, Councillor White, Councillor Macon. Councillor White, so that the recommendation is that Council notes the resignation of Councillor White as a committee delegate for the Weddin Health Council. Resolved to appoint the following councillor as a committee delegate to the Weddin Shire for the period remaining. We'll have to change that from 4 years to of the council term. And obviously we'll put the councillor in when we decide who that is, but I have a move and a second for that recommendation, councillors. Yes, Councillor Montgomery and Councillor Macon, thank you very much. Did you want to, General Manager, to speak to this one?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So obviously, previously Councillor White was elected as the council delegate to the Weddin Health Council. So Councillor White has tendered his resignation due to work commitments and sort of a change in the meeting time, so he's been unavailable to or won't be able to attend. So we thank him very much for his work and effort while he's been on the Weddin Health Council. So that will mean that we will need to appoint another council delegate to that council. So we will need to call for nominations from people, and then if there's more than one, we will hold a vote to elect the council delegate.
Councillor, the only thing to note was the timings was changed to, they're usually doing it about 9 o'clock of a Monday morning. It's only every couple
First Monday.
First Monday, yeah. So it's 9 in the morning due to them because they actually have staff that are attending that, and it's a lot better for a lot of the staff at the hospital to actually attend. So just be aware it's not an afternoon thing. That's what it's obviously made difficult for Councillor White to attend. So we'll call for nominations now. If anyone would like to be the delegate.
I'll nominate Councillor Parley if she'll accept.
Well, yes, but I think Councillor Parlett already goes to the meetings
I'm happy to be the delegate.
But aren't you?
I'm a community representative, but that frees up for another community representative to then be on that council.
Yeah, okay. Any other councillors we wish to nominate for that particular position? No. Oh, Councillor Rolls.
I'll nominate you, Mr Mayor, if you'd be
Well, no, no, I'm quite happy if Councillor Parlett wishes to do it. I try and attend them. I try and attend them as we can because I think it's, especially with looking at doing the upgrade to the MPS, I think it's really important that we support them as much as we possibly can. So, like I said, if Councillor Parlett's happy and we opens it up to another community members to come on board, so be it, and I'll do my best to attend them anyway because I think, like I said, we're at a really crucial point where we could be looking for $80 million of funding to support a really big upgrade on the MPS, and I think the council does our best to support them in that. So, yeah. But if any other councillors, thank you for the nomination, Councillor Rolls. I think we're covered. But no other councillors? No. In that case, we'll put it to the vote then that Councillor Parlett is now the delegation for the Weddin Health Council. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. Very good. Thank you. Move on to, I think we're up to the corporate services. Yep, 11.1, the corporate services. There's a recommendation for this one that council notes information contained in a report, amends part of Council Resolution 214-24.4 from our October 2024 Ordinary Council meeting of the Council, which will reflect A, the current total budget figure of $1,250, and B, notes the reference amendments to points 2 and 3. We have a move and a second for that, councillors. Moved by Councillor Neal and second by Councillor White. Thank you very much. We'll get our Director of Corporate Services, Ms Catherine Brock, to present this for us, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. This is an amendment to the Weddin Shire Christmas display competitions that was passed by Council in October 2024, and it is just to reflect the amendments that were made. So the villages had previously $150 donated to each of the 4 villages from Council, and Council agreed to increase that to $200. That amendment was made in the resolution. The total donation from Council was not amended to reflect that change in the individual council village contributions or donations. So this is to seek it to move the total budget from $1,050 to $1,250 to reflect the extra $50 in each village donation. Also pointing out that there was an error in the first resolution, and we should have referenced points 1 and 2 instead of referencing points 2 and 3.
Correcting a few typographical errors. So, any questions on this one, councillors? No? So that'll from this point, it'll be reflected in the support program going forward. The community support one.
It is in the budget. We've budgeted correctly.
Yes.
It was just updating the resolution.
Just updating the resolution to yeah. No worries. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. I'll just put this one to the vote then, councillor. If there's no questions or comments? No? All those in favour of those 2 recommendations?
Aye.
All those against? Thank you, councillors. Next, we move on to the arts, tourism and events activities for May to July 2024. There's a recommendation that council notes a report. We have a move and a seconder. Yep, Councillor Macon and seconded by Councillor Parlett. Thank you, councillors. Once again, asking the Director of Corporate Services to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. This is an update from the Tourism Coordinator for the period 1 May to 31 July on the activities of the Tourism and Events team. So you'll see there's a list there of the statistics of the visitors that have gone into the Visitor Information Centre over May, June and July, which is tracked and reported. The meetings that they've attended throughout that period and some of the events that they have contributed to delivering. The projects and grants that they've worked on during that period have also been outlined, and in particular any grants that have been applied for that have been processed. I would like to draw your attention to the Transport for New South Wales Open Streets program that was submitted for 2026, 2027 and 2028, and we've unfortunately been unsuccessful in that Light Up the Night grant.
Probably the most disappointing thing. It was such a good event, and I know that the staff really put a lot of work into the application for it as well. But I think we all know that the money's getting tighter and harder to sort of to get grants for those sort of things. So, yeah.
what that does mean is that we won't have any funding for an event for this year, but we will look to secure some funding for next year to be able to put some event on for the community.
And obviously, if anything turns up between now and then, we'll do. You could do our best to try and get funding from other sources. But this is obviously this is rather disappointing. Councillor Macon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. For that funding, do they give any feedback why, or is there a list of who it goes to?
We don't get a list of who it goes to, through you, Mr. Mayor. Their general feedback was that they were looking at a successive growth in the event over the 3-year grant, and also how that interacted with the community, but it was looking for progression in the events growing over those 3 years.
Yep. Any other questions, comments, councillors? Anyone? No, I think the staff have been quite busy in that area. I think the wattle and all that work that they've done down there is really, really good. So, no questions or councillors? No? No? Okay, I'll put that. We note that report. All those in favour of noting that report, councillors? All those against? Thank you. We move on to 11.3, the statement of bank balances and banking facilities. Recommendation is that council notes information contained in the statement of bank balances and banking facilities reports. I've moved in a seconder. Yeah, moved by councillor Macon and second by councillor Niven. Thank you. Once again, ask our Director of Corporate Services to speak about our bank balances.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Our bank balances, as at 31 July, we have a total cash balance of $11.9 million. Of this money, we have $9.5 million on deposit earning interest. We have $6.9 million that is restricted cash. Of that $11.9 million is grant funding, including grant funding, and $1.9 million to cover liabilities. So we have externally not restricted cash of $3 million, and of that $3 million, we have nearly $5 million that has an internal allocation, including the $200,000 waste management that I've put aside pending the financial finalisation of FY 2025 and finalising that number for bring to council next month.
Very good, thank you. Probably just one, if you feel it's appropriate, just what the contractor retention funds refers to.
Yes, so it's something that's just been recently brought up in some of the contracts that we have to retain 5% of contract fees now until completion of the project, but we've been advised that the grant won't reimburse that money if it hasn't been spent, and we have periods of time that we have to acquit those projects by. So we're working with the infrastructure engineers in what we do need to retain and what we may be able to work through. So we're working on a process to make sure that we can expend as much as possible but meet our requirements to finalise projects and have that retention if something's not delivered correctly. So it's a fine balance.
Yes, that's the balance between two competing policies, so to speak. Very good. Any comments, councillors, on the report of bank balances? No? I think we're still in a really solid, as the report says, we're a pretty solid cash balance and position at the moment, which is really, really good. But as we said, we're always looking for ways to save money and to keep ourselves in the best possible position. So thank you very much for all your hard work on that too. So I'll put this one to the vote then. All those in favour of accepting that report? Thank you, councillors. All those against? Thank you. Next one is 11.4, the rates and charge collections of July 2025. The council notes the information contained in the report provides an update on rates and charges collected for the month of July 2025. I move in a second to councillors. Councillor White and Councillor Rolls, thank you very much. I'll ask the Director again to provide a report on the rates collections point.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, for the July period, we've collected $208,000 in rates and charges. We've also, as mentioned in last meeting, levied our rates in July. After concessions, pension concessioner offset, there's $4.9 million levied in rates, and we have a total of $5.4 million rates outstanding, with 672 carried forward from last year. As continued to mention, that will be something that we will focus on now that the financial year is closed. In collections, we have first rates, instalments, all rates due 31st of August, so we are expecting to see a significant increase in those collections in August. Also, response to a question that was taken on notice in our meeting in July, our last meeting, in regards to the pensioner subsidy. So the Office of Local Government, we submit a pensioner subsidy of 55% of the total pensioner subsidy that's on offer to our ratepayers, and that's submitted on the 3rd of October and is paid to Weddin Shire Council before the end of the year. We have a date to lodge by. They don't commit to a date to pay by, but we generally receive it by the end of the year. For this year, the total pensioner concession applied is $124,492, which means our pensioner subsidy that we will receive is $68,470.
I suppose one other question would be like, do they have to then apply? We already know the figure. Is that because we just apply it to everybody who is already on that register as being a pensioner?
You have.
Sorry, no intention to. I was just thinking because we already know the figure, it's not, yeah.
I will have to take that under notice.
We're all learning more about pensioner rebates now.
Yes. I know there is a calculation and it is done when the rates are applied, but if there's any movement on that, I'll have to take it under notice.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that we don't charge the full amount, therefore we go back and get reimbursed. As I said, 55% is reimbursed to us.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm just wondering how people apply for that to be in that category. That's all, but it's okay. Thank you. I think no other questions, councillors, on it. Yes, Councillor Macon.
I just wanted to, through you, Mr. Mayor, that I noticed, just out of curiosity, for the same period last year, this year from the 31st of July, we're $120,000 more. Is there a reason for that comparatively to last year?
4.8%.
Oh, so it's just the increase.
That's
That's
right,
it.
4.6.
Yeah, okay, cool. I was just looking at it and I was like, that's a...
Yeah, the rate peg.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that also includes all charges that are on there, so the waste collection and those charges.
That's too easy. Thank you.
And I know, we continually say this, but if to anyone that's listening, if we have trouble paying your rates, please come and see the staff. We're very sympathetic. The staff are very, very good, and they can come up with ways and means to sort of do payment plans and things like that. And it's better to deal with it than make it protracted and go on. So we'd rather see you come in the door and explain the situation. And they're very, very sensitive and very sympathetic to it. So that's all. So I'll put that one then, councillor. There's no more questions regarding that, so I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of the report? Aye. Thank you, councillors. All those against? Thank you. So moved. Next we move on to 11.5, the community support application for the Crackable Country Club. There is a recommendation that council notes information in report, approves the $618 in-kind donation for the Crackable sheep races by donating the following: a Portaloo ×2, 10 wheelie bins, bin liners and garbage collection, and to approve to amend the donations and in-kind contributions policy and to update the pre-approved donations in-kind contributions for the Crackable Country Golf Club from $838 to $1,456. Have a move and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Parlett and seconded by Councillor Niven. Thank you. I'll ask the Director again to speak to this application. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we have received an application from the Crackable Country Golf Club to support the Crackable sheep races, in addition to the current pre-approved donations that we have. They've requested that there's an additional 2 Portaloos provided and 10 garbage bins for the event. So this would be in addition to the current in-kind donations of Cool Room, the 2 Portaloos that are on the pre-approved list, and bollards and mesh. This will add $618 to the pre-approved list for the Craigable sheep race. For this year, if it's approved by council, it will come out of our existing budget of not against unallocated pre-approved donations, which will leave $8,933 in the budget for the year.
Good, thank you. Any councillors, any questions? No?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Macon?
We're already providing this. From looking at the application, says that last year we provided the portaloos and the garbage bins. So this is just putting it on the approved already.
For you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Yes. Okay.
That is correct.
It's additional.
Yep.
And I think we all know how good a day it is out there. It's terrific for the community, and they do it on a shoestring budget as well. So I think this is good support. This is the only thing I've noticed too, that our community support policy is not actually on our website. So I don't know. I'm not looking at you, Liz. Sorry. Sorry. I just noticed that I was trying to find it to just have a look through the policy, and I noticed that it's not up there. So I'll just. Sorry? Pretty sure it is. No, I've missed it. I did try to look for it, but that's okay. So very good. Thank you very much for that, and I'll put that one to the vote then, council. If there's no comments about it. No? All those in favour of those recommendations, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those against, thank you, councillors. Next, we move on to 11.6, the draft council's expenses and facilities policy. The recommendation is that council places the draft council expenses and facilities policy as attached to the report on public exhibition for a period of 28 days for the purpose of inviting submissions from the community. And 2, request the acting general manager present a further report to council with all submissions received at the conclusion of the public exhibition period for council's further consideration or adoption of the policy. Or in the event that no submissions are received during the exhibition period, council formally adopt the policy without any changes as a policy of council. Have a move and a second for that, councillors? Yes, Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor White. Thank you. I think the acting general manager would like to present this one for us. Councillor Neal?
I'll move an amendment to that, that item 6.7.k be removed.
No, councillor, we can deal with that, I suppose. But did you want to hear the report from the director first, or?
Well, you're running the show.
That's okay. Well, we can move straight into that then. We'll bring up councillors. We'll bring up 6.7.
Page 60.
Page 60.
Well, you do the second amendment.
Yeah, so I just want to see what it is first. That's all. So what we're talking about, 6. Just refer to me again, sorry, councillor. You're after 6. Which one was it?
6.7.k.
Okay, 6.7.k. Which refers to travel expenses will be paid to a councillor from the Weddin Shire Council's boundary for the official business of council. They're asking that particular one be removed. So we've got a councillor making an amendment to that particular one. So does anyone want to second that motion, councillors? Seconded by Councillor Parlett. Thank you. I'll get Councillor Niven to speak to his amendment.
I'd be surprised if delegates to other conferences out of town fund their own travel outside the boundary of the Weddin Shire. But I will point out that when I was on the council before, I travelled from Bimby and I'd received 30 kilometres of travel. And when I moved to Young, I was told I was entitled to from where I then resided, which I didn't claim. I didn't bother with that. Now, when I'd been elected this time, everybody knows I live in Young, and the travel has been limited, which is 50 k's. It's about the same distance from Quandialla, but I don't live at Quandialla, obviously. And the block of ground that I own at Quandialla would be close to 40 k's away, and I receive about 10 k's travel. So it was some sort of a coup last December, and I was somewhat taken aback, but it does say here with the Code of Conduct Procedures and Policies, item 3.6, that I can speak to it, and I don't know whether I need to read that out, you know. But, I just thought it was unreasonable.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor
I
Gordon.
was the person that moved that motion, and I did it for a reason. And to be quite honest, and I know Councillor doesn't believe me, but it's true. At that stage, I wasn't considering who lived in the Shire and who didn't live in the Shire, but there were some examples that came to our attention of councillors who had moved home and they moved away. And there was one example that I think that's coming to mind where, and I can't remember which councillor was involved, but the councillor moved to out of state, and because they were on the council and refused to give up their position on the council, they flew in each month for a meeting, and that council was compelled, because of the policy, to pay for their travel to and from council business. And ultimately that was the precedent that led it there, and that's honestly where it was coming from. Unfortunately, councillor thought I was targeting him, and I wasn't. We've been acquaintances for years, and he felt a deep betrayal, which was never intended.
Speaking against the motion, Councillor.
And then we ultimately moved it so that travel within the Shire, and that was partly because we could have a candidate from the other side of Carragable who wants to come in. We did discuss at the time maybe limiting it to, say, 40 kilometres from council, and I got some feedback from the other councillors after that meeting. The approximate 40 k's from council, I believe, was passed, but I did ask the others, and some approached me and said they felt that wasn't very fair, and so as a result of that, we went for travel within the boundary.
No worries. Yes, Councillor Parlett.
I did go through this policy. I wasn't there at the December meeting, and I did hone in on K, which reads, travel expenses will be paid to the councillor from Weddin Shire Council boundary for the official business of council. Now, my first concern was if we have, say, a library delegate who then has to travel to Orange, can he only go to the boundary and be paid? My second concern then was we did go through an election. At the point of election, all of us did disclose our address for our community to vote as to whether we represent them. So I've gone back through the policy, and if you look at page 56, Part A, the introduction, 1.1, the provision of expenses and facilities enable a councillor to fulfil their civic duty as the elected representative of the Weddin Shire Council. Page 57, the policy objectives. The objectives of this policy are 2.1.4, ensure facilities and expenses are provided to councillors to meet community expectations. Your community voted us in with an address and would know we are being paid for travel to that address. 5, and we need to support a diversity of representation. So we should not be making it difficult for someone that lives a distance to be able to come to council meetings. Principles. This is page 57.3, 3.1. Council commits to the following principles. 4, equity. There must be equitable access to expenses and facilities for all councillors. 5, appropriate use of resources, providing clear direction on the appropriate use of council resources in accordance with legal requirements and community expectations. I do think that our community voted us in to do our roles, and in our policies previously, all councillors were paid with that elected address for travel.
Councillor? Got 2 for by the look of it and 1 against. Oh, so anyone else want to speak on the motion, councillors? Councillor Macon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what my concern is that of Councillor Gorman's as well, that after the election, to speak to Councillor Parlette's point, yes, they elected us on the premise that what our address is now. What's stopping a councillor moving away at a later date after election? So this is where, if we set the precedent now for travel, if we remove this, saying, yes, we can claim reimbursement for travel, I decide to live in Canberra, or I decide to live in Sydney, or whatever, or actually I'm away for work and I have to travel back for council business, I think it's going to set a negative precedent for costing, which the community then is ultimately paying for, is paying for the luxury for us to be paid to travel back when it is our, says in the policy there, our civic duty. I feel that it's our civic duty to make the effort to fulfil, not at the expense of claiming. So that's just my personal opinion. But I feel that it would open the precedent for councillors at a later date and to go, yep, now I'm moving away for family, and I'm just going to use previous General Manager Noreen's address, for example. She decides to move away. She can claim now she's staying with Weddin Shire Council. It just opens an unwanted precedent for unnecessary spending, that I believe. Yes, it probably doesn't add up to a lot, but when we're under such high scrutiny as it is as a council for what we spend and how we spend and how that is divvied up, I feel that it is just opening a can of worms to claim unnecessarily.
You've already spoken, Councillor Gorman.
Can I suggest we go to committee of the whole so we can have a right of response?
Well, no, you can't. You can't go to committee of the whole, so you can have. No, you can't. Yeah. Well, no, sorry. Well, sorry. To be fair, Councillor Parlett has moved, asked to move to the committee of the whole. I'll ask we have a seconder for that.
Yeah, I'll second.
Yeah, committee of the whole. Okay, we'll ask then put that to the vote. All those in favour of going to committee of the whole? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an even. I will say no because I think you've. I'll vote against that. So I think we've got 2 for and 2 against, and I think going to the committee of the whole is sort of breaks a precedence on that. So then in that case, I will ask. Sorry, Councillor Rolls, you had something. Yeah, so we've got to move to put it to the vote. Second, Councillor Neal.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can we make K? Can we put a distance on K, saying we will pay travel expenses up to 50 kilometres, which will get rid of that, travelling from way out of town if someone gets that position? Can we put a kilometre?
Well, it's a different matter, I suppose. It's something you're really talking about an amendment to Councillor's motion. Well, Councillor's motion is actually that we remove it. So you can move an amendment to the motion again if you'd like, but I think his motion is very clear that he wants to remove it completely, and it's been seconded. So I'd rather you can bring that back for. You've got another period between now and then if you want to put in an application or a submission to council for that. You can put that in. It can be voted on at another time. But for now, Councillor Nivens is.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I think that's what we were discussing before around putting in a specific distance, is that there are probably parts of the Shire that might be outside 50 kilometres. So that's why the previously approved policy sort of nominated within the Shire. So it allowed for those people that might be sort of right out on the Shire boundary that might be in excess of 50 kilometres, if they got elected to council, that they would be able to get their travel.
Yep. So we've got it. Thank you. Councillor Niven, you have a right to reply if you like, yes?
Don't people get travel allowance or any expense allowances to go to conferences in Sydney or Melbourne? I mean, cars would be provided. What are you going to do with that? They're outside the boundary of the Shire. I mean, you're just best off to scrap it. I mean, anyway, that's my go, because I couldn't see the point in it. And as I told you earlier, I lived at Bimby and I went to Young and I still claimed 30 Ks. And I don't think that I should have been made an example of, but I mean, it's come up again. I wouldn't have brought it up. I would have probably lived with it, but it's come here and I'm going to have my say, and I'm entitled to have my say.
Don't disagree, councillor.
So through you, Mr Mayor, I suppose the intention of that clause, the way I see it, was, councillors travelling to, I suppose, the admin building or to Grenfell for meetings. I don't see that was limiting councillors claiming expenses if they were travelling to a conference, to say that we won't pay past the boundary. If the conference or the training had been approved by council, they would be entitled to claim that travel. I suppose the other thing is that we do have cars that we try to make available to councillors. So if you've got to travel to Sydney or Canberra or to somewhere, we encourage you to use, wherever possible, a council car. Where that's not possible, then they get to claim that travel. So I think in terms of K, the intention of that clause was really coming the other way. So if you're coming to council, that will pay you from the Shire boundary to within Grenfell.
Yep. Thank you. Look, I think we've got it. Oh, sorry, councillor Montgomery.
Just feel that, through you, Mr Mayor, got it, that it's the elected address, the address that you have when you're elected. Now, the example that Councillor Macon gave was that you move out of thing. Well, that wasn't your elected address. So that's why if you lived in Canberra and wanted to be a councillor in Weddin, well, that would be a pre-known thing. Whether it's legal, I don't know, but it's the fact that it's the address that you're elected by. So you're changing the rules in the middle. I think that maybe it should be that going forward in the future, if there's changes, then that's a different issue. But I think if everybody knew the elected address at voting, surely then it doesn't change the rules.
My reply in that would be that possibly would be that yes, you could say that, but also as a council, we are sitting here as representatives of the community. That's what we are. We are 9 representatives of the community. So our views are here to reflect what we assume are the views of the community. So to say that you're saying that everybody should do that. Well, if we have councillors here that vote for that particular one, well, that is their view, and that's reflective of what they believe in the community. So, your argument to say, well, everyone knows that's where someone lives, therefore we should keep it, well, that sort of, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not being clear, I suppose, but we're here to represent what we believe the community wants. That's how we make every decision. So that's how we should make every decision. So that should be reflected in the way we vote on this particular matter, on all matters. So that's all. But yes, Councillor White.
Through you, Mr Mayor.
Oh, sorry, you've got a motion.
I did put a motion. You get a vote on that?
Yes, sorry, yes, we've got a motion, we put it to the vote. So Councillor, we have a second for that. I know this is getting complicated. Councillor Rolls put it that we actually put it to the vote. Oh, sorry, my apologies. So Councillor, so we second that we put it to the vote. So Councillor Rolls has a motion up that we put it to the vote. So he's called a point of order. So he needs a second for the point of order. Seconded by Councillor Macon. We are voting whether we put it to the vote or we continue discussion. That's what we are voting on. So do we put it to all those in favour of putting the motion to the vote? Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And against? So Councillor Rolls, Councillor Rolls has put a point of order that we put the motion to be voted upon.
Which motion?
Your motion.
Oh, right.
So he has asked it as a point of order, as he's right to, because there was 2 for, 2 against. We've had 2 speakers, 2 for, 2 against. So he's then asked that we put it to the motion. I've called for a seconder to put that. So Councillor Macon has seconded. So we're now saying, would you like to put it to the motion? To the vote. We're not actually voting on the motion itself. We're voting upon Councillor Niven.
Do you vote on a motion from, what are we? Committee of the Whole?
Yes, we did.
We do that, do we?
No, we already have.
We're out of Committee of the Whole.
We didn't go into Committee of the Whole.
Oh.
We've had, as I said, we've had speakers for and against. Councillor Rolls has actually put a point of order that we go to put it to the vote. We've had a seconder. Councillors, will you vote for or against putting it? If you vote against, we can continue the discussion if someone else would like to speak. If you don't, if you already haven't spoken, it gives you an opportunity to speak again. If you don't, we put it to the vote.
We're voting on the amendment.
Yeah, and then we'll vote on the amendment. So all those in favour of putting the Councillor Rolls' a motion to put it to the vote, please raise your hand. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 to put it to the vote. That's carried. So now we put the... Sorry, Councillor Gorman. So now we have to put the motion, which is Councillor Niven's motion, to the vote. We've had 2 speakers for it. We've had speakers against it. So there's no more speakers for or against. We now have to put it to the vote. All those in favour of the motion that council removes the 0.6 no, that's not quite right. Yeah, 6.7. Oh, sorry, it is .k. Oh, it looks like kilometres. removes 6.7 .k from the draft councils and expenses policy 1.620. Next, I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of the motion. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. All those against. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that in that point, I have a deciding vote on this one. I will vote against the amendment. Thank you. So that means the motion is lost. The amendment is lost. All right. Very complicated. Sorry about to do it, but we did have a point of order in that one. So, right. Next, we move on to the actual motion itself. Now, I'll ask the director to speak upon the policy, please.
Mr. Mayor, the draft policy amendment is to reflect the updated budget for FY20.
Oh, no, sorry, my apologies. Sorry, Councillor. We haven't actually, we spoke on the amendment, we haven't actually spoke on the actual policy itself. Sorry, for the expenses policy, that's all. Oh, so actually it is Arisa. Sorry, the director is putting that one. Yep. Sorry, I thought the general manager was putting
yes,
that one. My apologies. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The draft council expenses and facilities policy is to reflect the updated 2025-2026 financial year changes to remuneration and the operating budget that's been adopted by council. The recommendation is to put the policy on public exhibition for a period of 28 days and the acting general manager report back to council if we receive submissions, otherwise the policy will be adopted.
Any other questions on the policy, expenses policy, councillors, or comments? No. In that case, I shall put the recommendations to council that council places the. Can you just? You're right. Places the draft council expenses and facilities policies as attached to the report on public exhibition for a period of 28 days for the purpose of inviting submissions from the community. 2, request the acting general manager to present a further report to council with all submissions received at the conclusion of the public exhibition period for council's further consideration and adoption of the policy, or in the event that no submissions are received during the exhibition period, council formally adopts a policy without any changes as a policy of council. We've got that moved by Councillor Neal and Councillor White. All those in favour of that recommendation, councillors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against?
Against, I'd like my name recorded.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, Councillor Niven. All those against? That one's carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Next, we move on to 11.7, the quarterly business review statement. I'll just get down to that. So this is to the Director of Corporate Services. The quarterly review statement. The Council 1 notes and receives the financial year 2025 quarterly business review statements, QBRS quarter 4, rolls over unused financial assistance grants of $24,680 from 4 local rural and urban roads, financial year 2025 grants and contributions operating to the financial year 2026 budget. 3, Council rolls over $30,000 from plant from the 2025 net plant income to plant 2026, a minor asset expense, $30,000, and internally allocates $280,000 to plant income reserves. 4, rolls over $14,954 from corporate administration services in the financial year 2025 to the human resources, work health and safety financial year 2026. 5, rolls over $750 from the Community Events Australia Day to the financial year 2026 budget. Endorses a reallocation of the Roads to Recovery funding for the financial year 2020-25 and endorses a reallocation of regional emergency road repair funds for the financial year of 2025. That's a mouthful. So do we have a mover and a seconder, councillors? Moved by Councillor Roll, seconded by Councillor Gorman. Thank you. I'll ask the Director of Corporate Services to speak on this one as well. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the quarterly budget review statement for quarter 4, 30 June 2025. To note that the reports attached are draft actuals as the year-end adjustments have not been completed. We still have some depreciation and annual leave expenses and the capital works program adjustments to be put through. So there will be changes to the reports that are in there. So I wanted to focus on the revotes and the movements of budgets into this financial year. To note, all of this information is in the attached quarterly budget review statement, and that also does include our grants tracking our roads programs as well for your information. In regards to the proposed budget variations, so in closing off our financial year 2025, we have $24,680 from the financial assistance grant from 30 June 2025 financial year that hasn't been fully used. So we would like to roll that over into 2026 to be able to use that on the roads program and utilise as much of the funding as we have that we can spend on roads programs. We also have $310,000 from FY 2025 in plant income. We would like to roll over $30,000 of that to put to an unbudgeted operating expenditure item of minor assets under $5,000. So our requirement under accounting standards is that if we purchase any assets under $5,000, they go into operating expenditure. So from our plant income that we earned in the last financial year, I'd like to allocate that for FY 26 spending. And then the remainder of that to be reallocated internally, $280,000 to be set aside from in our cash balances for any future purchase asset requirements that we may have. We also have received state cover funds in FY 2025 for completing our work health and safety questionnaires and audits. We have $14,954 that was allocated to the corporate admin services budget that was unused from that payment we received last financial year. We'd like to roll that over to the human resources work health and safety budget to fund biannual audiometric testing, that's a mouthful, and skin checks that are requirements for us to provide to our staff. And we have an approximate cost of $10,000 for that.
Hearing checks.
Well, I just put the fancy name that was in there.
Hearing checks for the staff.
Yes, thank you. And that happens every second year, which is my biannual.
Yep.
The council roll over $750 from the Australia Day community events to FY 2026. So in closing our financial year, we realised that 3 of the villages had not claimed the $250 donation from council for Australia Day in January 2025, sorry, I'm forgetting which year I'm in. And so we want to roll that over into this year so that we can pay them, and we're now in the process of following up to make sure that they receive those funds. And then finally, that council endorsed the reallocation of roads to recovery funding in the FY 24-25 financial year has been outlined in the business report. I won't go through it line by line. And that council endorsed the reallocation of the Regional Emergency Road Repair Fund as outlined in the table. So this is just moving money around to ensure that we're utilising our grant funding as appropriate, as effectively as possible, and doing the work that's the most urgent.
Any questions, councillors?
Through
Councillor Macon?
Yeah. Point 4 of the recommendation, the rollover of the 14,954 from corporate services, admin services to 5 human resources, WH&S. Is that the same line, just renamed?
No, so when we received the funds in from state cover, that money went into corporate services.
Right, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's just, yes.
Yeah,
But it's
so it's just reallocating it to where it's supposed to be.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Mr. Mayor.
And I think it's important, as I probably mentioned in the pre-briefing, I'd like to probably see a bit more of a roads recovery and the RF funding and stuff like that come back to council through the director, just so we can have a bit of a look at over where that money's in the roads. We've got a big road network. There's lots of money being sort of allocated to different things, and just so we can get a bit more of a workshop on get our head around where it's being spent. That's all. I think it's important. But thank you very much for that. I don't think there's no questions from councillors or no comments regarding it. No, thank you very much. I think I don't have anything. No, that's all. No, I think so. So I'll just put that one to the vote, that we accept those points as read out earlier as for the recommendation. And we've got move in a second, so I'll put that to the vote, that the recommendation be accepted. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. All those against? Thank you. So moved. Yes. What page we're at? No. 130, is it? Oh, thank you. Now, next one is 11.8, the Council's Expenses Report from January the 1st of 2025 to the 30th of June 2025. There's a recommendation that Council note the Council's Expenses Report for the 6 months ending the 30th of June 2025. I'll have a move and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Gorman, seconded by Councillor Rolls. Thank you. I will ask the the Director of Corporate Services to speak to this one again. Brock, thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. This is a 6-monthly report that's submitted on councillor expenses, and I would refer you to the attached document that gives you a breakdown of the expenditure that's been incurred from January 2025 to June 2025.
You, Councillor White, yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Catherine, can you tell me if these expenses descriptions all have their own allocated budget? So we've got general travel expense here. Does that have its own budget? We have interstate. Does that have its own accommodation and meals and that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, you will see in the councillor expense and facilities report, the budget breakdown is actually included in that report. So not broken down to this level. Most of those are reflected in the policy, not in the report. Most of those are reflected in the line items. But for example, accommodation may roll up into delegates going to training, or it may roll up into delegates going to conferences. So we've broken down in the budget the type of expenditure in relation to overall. In here, we're reflecting what is actually spent.
Okay, so when you talk about the accommodation sort of thing, it's not just for the councillors, for the whole of the council division?
For the councillors only, through you, Mr. Mayor, for the councillors only.
I just want to also point out that with our last motion regarding the travel, that, Councillor Gorman pointed out that the reason for her motion regarding that was to also cut costs. I feel like if you want to look at cutting costs now, you're trying to restrict someone from travelling from their home address to a council meeting, that maybe we need to get rid of the Thursday night dinners, being reflective and transparency. Because if, the community is saying, well, they shouldn't be travelling, and community looks at us having these dinners and so forth, that's just my opinion.
Councillor, you can bring a notice of motion to council for that if you'd like, but yeah, thank you. Any other comments, councillors? Councillor Gorman?
Actually, that is a thought I had myself. Maybe not so much remove them, but possibly every second meeting or something like that. Because the community, I've had various comments at times about, cost cutting, and they think we're in a terrible financial position despite the 12 million plus budget that we've been presenting the last few months, etc. And I mean, times are hard for a lot of people. They're suffering with their rates and, just everyday living expenses. I can see why Councillor White is bringing this up, and there probably could be an alternative that might be cheaper. But then again, I know part of the process is so that we can support local businesses and we don't go to the same place. We're rotated around all the premises in town. However, not everybody chooses to attend, and that's, an individual choice. I don't know what people would consider a fair thing, but I also know it was meant to sort of build a rapport or collaboration or whatever between councillors so that we could work together as a team more effectively.
Thank you, Councillor Gorman. Councillor Niven?
Look, I think it's vital that we get together after a meeting and try to cooperate and everything else. I mean, this is to me. I mean, we've spent $660 each on professional development. I mean, I think we did our dough myself, but look, there's other things to look at and be networked and things like that. Some of that stuff that we did probably should have come to council beforehand with professional. It probably should have come and been authorised. Like it was new work, new ideas.
The 660 professional development.
I beg your pardon?
You mean the $660 professional development?
Yeah.
I would assume that would have been, basically it would have been, I mean, I can't talk to it, I suppose, but we can come back on what it was exactly for, but I'm assuming it would have been a portion of the training, new councillor training.
It would have been new council training.
Yeah, so
and it would have been...
Which is a requirement of the
charter, stuff like the charter.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was really good, but it didn't work. Cooperation and things like that. It was, look, where do you start and stop? Not with ditching meals. No way. That's no.
I don't think we've actually got a motion.
I mean, you
for
ditch
them,
the
so.
travel for some poor silly old bugger just out of town.
Yeah.
That saves the.
Yeah. Councillor Montgomery, you wish to speak on the motion?
I just want to say that there is a bit of confusion as far as I was concerned with the report, because it says for the 6 months ended the 30th of June, and yet it actually covers the 12 months. And so therefore, I think it's the 12 months, not the 6 months.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can, I'm happy to take that note. It's outlining that we're adding the expenditure that has incurred for the period for the 6 months. So we're giving you a full year because the Q1 and Q2 was previously reported, and this is for the Q3 and Q4. So we're adding the 6 months. So I will take that note.
And it is a requirement this be brought back to council every 6 months.
Correct. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think you're suggesting that we note that it is a 12-month report in the second 6 month of the year, but we're adding in a 6 month notice. Obviously, in the first half of the year, it would only be a 6 month report because we're only covering the first 6 months.
Is that clearer, councillor? Is that clearer or?
Sorry?
Is that clearer?
Oh, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just think that it's worded wrong.
Yeah.
Because it isn't just the 6 months, it's the whole 12 months, which is, I don't have an issue with that,
Yeah.
but I do have a thing that it should just be quarter 3 and 4, not all the 4 quarters, because it just confuses the issue if we are
The 4
saying
quarters are
it's a
presented to
report
us,
for
but
6
we're only-
months. Yeah, yeah.
So through
That
you,
was all.
Yeah, thank you.
through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify, you're still wanting to see the full year. You don't want to just see 2 quarters in each report? Just so that I'm clear.
Oh, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm no problem with it as 12 months, but I think it should be the annual figures, not 6 months from January to June, because that isn't what we've been presented with.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I understand.
Yeah. No worries. Do we have a move and second for that?
Yeah, you did Gorman and Rolls.
Oh, Gorman and Rolls. Am I too quick, am I? Sorry, Councillor Parlett?
Can we amend the wording to read 12 months, and then that covers what we're actually being presented with tonight? Because it's not going to throw our QBRS report out because you've covered all your figures in that time. So if our director is amenable to that, would that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
yes, that reflects the period. Just reiterating that it's the 6 monthly requirement that I have to report every 6 months, but I have no objection to that.
You're asking to change the recommendation from the council notes to council expenses report from 12 months ended to the 30th of June. Is that what you're asking?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, would it be that the first report that comes each financial year would reflect that recommendation, which would be for the 6 months ending, whatever that is, December? The second one that comes through will reflect that it's the 12 months.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yep.
Mhm.
So we can amend this one to reflect that it's for the 12 months ending the 30th of June, and then the next one that will come to council will actually say the 6 months ending the 30th of December. Yep.
So we've got a mover that we change it from the 12 months from the 6 months to changing to 12 months. We've got that amendment. So that's put forward by Councillor Parlett. Do we have a seconder for that one? Yep, seconded by Councillor Montgomery. So I'll ask that we vote on the amendment for the change for the recommendation. All those in favour of that amendment going ahead? Thank you, councillors. That's put. Now we go back to the actual recommendation, which is now that council notes the council expenses report for the 12 months ended on the 30th of June 2025. Councillor Neal, did you wish to vote or wish to speak on it? No? You sure? It was a preemptive hand. No? Okay. So then all those in favour of that recommendation, councillors, please raise your hands. Thank you. All those against, councillors? No. So moved. Thank you very much. Good discussion. Move down to... Thank you for the director for that report. Next we move down to 12.1, Road Maintenance Council contracts, the RMCC contracts, that we note the information contained in the RMC contract report. All those, a mover and a seconder for that one. Moved by Councillor Roll, seconded by Councillor Neal. Thank you, councillors. I'll ask our Acting Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Anthony Prippick, to speak to this report. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll just start off the report by saying, as a person who travels through multiple shires every weekend on their highways to get to my residence on the Central Coast and bounce across a fair few other national highways, we're not doing too bad. And now to start the report.
A bit of good news.
The RMCC manager and his team have continually done an excellent job on maintaining both the highways that they're in charge of, as well as all the rest areas and other associated bits of infrastructure to those highways, and are continuing to do a great job. At the moment, they are they've gone to tender on the work that's going to be coming up for the sealing and repair period come end of September through to March, when they can lay seals and asphalt around the highways. So they're in the process of at tender at this point, and they'll evaluate and award that work in the next fortnight, I believe. So that's progressing well. As well as that, they, on a monthly period, attend meetings with Transport New South Wales, our client, to keep them in knowledge of what we're doing, along with costings. And there's one important thing as I finish to note that we've had over $4.8 million as a reduction in budget from last year to this year for the work that they're doing, and so the $2.8 million that they've been given, they've already planned heavy patching on both highways, shoulder repairs, reseal programs, and the RMAP maintenance works for the whole year, which I think is a great achievement, considering we've only just sort of started the new financial year. So again, I cannot heap more praise on that team.
I think it is pretty disappointing that our RMAC funding is gone back so much. It's a big amount. Do you think we'll be able to do that work with our own staff, or obviously some of the spray reseals we won't be able to?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the RMCC manager has already allocated our grader team to do the part stabilisation work for the upcoming work on the highways. So that is even starting within the next fortnight, subject to weather. So they are going to do some repair work with our own teams, and that team, or the RMCC manager, is managing the traffic control team for both his work and parts of my natural disaster and RRF work and block grant work as well, through using council resources. Yeah. So yeah, we are focused on utilising council teams as much as we can.
Yeah, such a big reduction. It's pretty imperative.
Sort of forced that way in some respects.
Yeah. Thank you, councillors. Any questions, or for the director? No question on that particular one? No. I'll put that one to the vote then. All those in favour of the recommendation, please. Thank you, councillors. All those against? That one's so moved. Next, we move on to 12.2, the Infrastructure Services Report. The recommendation is the council receive and note the information on the infrastructure works completed in the July 2025 and planned works for the August 2025. I have a move and a seconder. Councillor Montgomery moved and seconded by Councillor Neal. Thank you very much. Once again, I'll ask our Acting Director of Infrastructure to speak to this one. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We, again, starting off with natural disaster works. P2, there's minor roads to be finished in that package. We're almost complete there. Other packages, P3's to be quitted, P4 being acquitted as well. P5, the engineers are setting up a tender package for the upcoming summer period of seal and stabilisation works. So that tender hopefully will be coming out in early September. P6 is being acquitted, and P7, the engineers will start scoping work once all the acquittals are under control. There's a fair bit of work to do to acquit all the completed grant works for those packages, and the engineers are doing the best they can to do that. Major works, as Luke mentioned, as mentioned by the Environmental Director, Pullabooka Road, we are working with the Enviro team to get access to a corrugable tip to put some of the spoil there to save money for council and make that an efficient project, and also use that spoil wisely for works at the tip. Nowlands Road has been affected by the rain in July and also the rains in August, but the contractor is progressing very well there, as in between the weather, and that is planned to be completed by the end of September, and then we'll acquit that work, again subject to weather. Corrugable Shared Path Stage 2 will be started and finished within the month of September, subject to weather. Bogalong Dam, I've made a blue there and haven't sent out the report to councillors, which I'm going to rectify immediately next week, so that they can all look at that and we can progress that work. 3rd Street, Quandiella, the second side against the school side there of that road will be started and finished in September using the same local contractor. Road maintenance works and gravel resheeting works are being done by our 2 grader crews, and they're doing a great job there in between the rain again, which causes havoc. And Parks and Recreation, well, that team, which is very, very small, are doing a great job and keeping all the parks and facilities under control, including the villages. Plant report, from the date of this report there, we've had no major issues, although in August one of our rollers has packed it in, but I'll get to talk to you about that next month. Biosecurity, the team has done minimal spraying, and but they have been doing inspections. Spraying's been reduced due to the weather, and they've also attended a major conference for their own education and benefit of the council, and all come back inspired. And last of all, Main Street, we haven't done anything with marking out the disabled parking or the taxi stand in Main Street, mainly due to the weather. We need a guaranteed couple of straight days of rain, and as you're all aware, we haven't been able to get a couple of decent days of sunshine in any of the past few weeks, but we have that plan to do. CCTV cameras, our IT manager is working with a contractor to again make that CCTV, give it better enhancement and improve the operating of that system. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors, or comments on any of those things? I'll make one. I take my hat off to you for that. The natural disaster funding. I can't, for the life of me, the way it's put together. It's really hard to understand. You know, like, and I said, I don't know how you navigate it all. I really don't. But it's all there, and you've done a really terrific job of it, Anthony. Really.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to tell you the secret because I'm trying to work it out myself with Catherine's assistance.
I think hopefully we're working towards the end of it, but it's just the way
yeah.
the way you get funded through it, and you get paid. You're told an amount, and they're only promised to only access 70% of that amount, and then we get some comes in and dribs and drabs, and the whole thing. Just keeping track of it is a full-time job, honestly.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, as you alluded to earlier, we will the infrastructure team will put a information package together and present it to all councillors in the coming weeks, if not sooner.
Another one with the Parks and Gardens team. I want to say it was at the cemetery not long back, and it just was beautiful out there. And I know it's cold and a bit of a slower growing season, but they've done a terrific job. But really, it was just a picture out there. Actually, I think there's nothing anywhere I could see that needed work done to it. And the way that they're respectful with doing the greys and shifting the dirt and putting it all aside, it was really pleasing to see out there. And I think they should be all commended on the work they do. It was a real picture actually. So, if that's no other comments, councillors. No, Councillor Gorman.
Earlier, we had a discussion through the mayor. Earlier, we had a discussion, the engineer and I, about the need for fixing those potholes at Greenthorpe, and he gave me some good news as we walked into the room. And Greenthorpe, the potholes either side of the railway line, hopefully will be fixed. What would you like to tell them?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Gorman, we will be doing some work in Greenthorpe in the coming fortnight period, and if we get the chance to attack that mess out there either side of the railway, while we're there, we'll give it a go. Although, again, it's one of those things, you know, without specific funding, it makes life hard, but we'll drag it out of somewhere and try to make that much improved. I drove over it today, by the way, coincidentally, and yes, as you alluded to, it's in a dire situation there.
Thank you. Everyone will appreciate that, especially with harvest and the traffic to the silos coming up.
I do think it's important to note, though, you have done a lot of work on the roads, as in grading them, and not grading them as in you did a report back on the condition of the roads, condition assessment of all our roads, and we use that to really plan on where the money is to be spent on those condition reports itself. We don't just do it by the squeaky wheel. There's a method involved in it. No more comments, councillors, or anything like that with that one? No? I'll put that one to the vote, that we accept the report as written. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. Next we can move on to 12.3, which is update again on the Roads and Capital Program for financial year 2025-26. 1, the council notes information report. 2, the council adopts the updated Roads and Capital Program as contained within the operational plan 2025-26, including the budget for regional roads program block grants, the Roads to Recovery, the regional and local repair program, and which is now called the Regional Emergency Road Repair Fund, as outlined in the report. And we have a move and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Montgomery, seconded by Councillor Gorman. Thank you. Once again, ask the Director to speak on this, on the update to the Capital Works Program.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of what you just said a minute ago, the roads have been, or these funding that we get from these various grants, block, RERRF, Roads to Recovery, grants, we have some minor flexibility which does to allow us to increase or decrease or add or remove roads or things that we had in the program. Although it all does still have to get approved, we nominate it. It has to get approved by Transport before it's ticked into the program. That's why you can see it there in red, and when they approve it, it'll come in black, and we can get stuck into it. But as you mentioned, council's recently had a road asset survey done of all the roads in the Shire. And we've had an independent report. I know I've probably spoken about this before, but this asset report has evaluated each road and given it a number from 1 to 5, one being a new road, excellent condition, 5 being a very poor road. So the engineers are now using the data that we've recently been given through this asset management report to evaluate some of the roads, and that's why you'll see new roads being put in and money added to existing roads when the engineering team realises that it's warranted and fair. So that is essentially why there's increases and new roads entering this list that the community will see wants efficiency on our side, that we're concentrating on trying to repair the worst roads first, and then go down that rating over the coming years, so that people are travelling on the safest and best quality roads that they can be. So it's through the report there, you can see it's been clearly shown to you what's been removed or added, subtracted, extra money here and there, and we're concentrating on also fixing up some of these heavy vehicle turning areas that are getting chewed out by, whether it's heavy vehicles, whether it's all associated with harvest or just general heavy vehicles running around. We're also trying to start off fixing 2 of these very bad areas. And added in now, you'll see Quandiella and Bland Road, so that's programmed in. So we're going to do the Shire will have its first 2 deep lift asphalt solutions to that sort of screwing up of the seal and ruining the road in real quick time. So once these solutions are put in place, that should be a solution that'll last for hopefully 20 plus years. That's it for that one.
The deep lift, it's actually asphalt. It's not, you don't go to a concrete base or anything like that in those particular...
No, they're just layers of asphalt that the tenderers that are going to give us their reports back. Council has done a geotechnical survey of the locations. Given it hasn't gone to tender yet. I'm doing it as we speak. The tenderers will then use that information and come up with a design on what thickness of asphalt they think is suitable to put down over our base course, our sub base, and to give us those guarantees we need. And it's basically a layer of asphalt. They mill it out, put a layer of asphalt of, example 200 mil thick, and then they put another layer over the top of it that's the wearing course that is connected to it, and then that gives it the strength so that when the trucks are turning and screwing on a sharp turn, it's not going to rip it up and affect it. So it's the solution that's being used everywhere around the place, and we will see the benefits of it in hopefully by the end of October if they come in and do the work in the right summer period.
Yeah, I'm just interested. I don't think we've ever, not that I'm aware of, we've ever done that process before. That was always,
I believe you haven't.
Yeah. We've obviously had a few different intersections and things that get, especially harvest time, get screwed with the trucks, and especially in a 42-degree day, you can nearly drive along there some places and watch the tar lift when the trucks after they go. So it'll be interesting.
Well, hopefully that won't occur again for my lifetime.
I think you've got more than 20 years now, but that's really good. No, it's a great way to present it. I think it's a really straightforward table, which shows us where we're up to with all the roads. There's a lot of roads on there, and a lot of shows us what funding's available for it and where the funding comes back from. So it's really good. Any other comments, councillors? Councillor Macon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just did some rough maths that through that we receive about $6 million worth of funding is not really enough to do what actually needs to be done. It's not even close.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's 100% correct, councillor. Yeah.
We could quite easily double it and still not get there. But that's why I think it's important we use that asset, as we're saying, use that decision, so we're making good informed decisions of where we spend our money on, which is the worst road, and work through that process instead of, like I said, instead of an ad hoc replacement of roads and things like that, and saying, who complains the loudest is the one that gets fixed. Well, no, this is...
Mr. Mayor, obviously, the community's awareness, look at how much we make out of rates, doesn't even cover that, let alone anything else within the Shire as well. So without this funding, yes, it's great we get the funding, but it's obviously that's been reduced significantly compared to probably previous years or even applications that we've actually tried to get.
Yeah, and we keep lobbying to get more, but it's an endless cycle, I think, the roads, but we do our best, I think. So that we're going to move in a second. I think there's no other comments, councillors? No? I'll put those recommendations to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? So moved. Next we move on to 13. I'll thank the Director for his report. Thank you very much. Next we move on to 13, the Environmental Services Report. 13.1, Development Applications, Construction Certificates and Complying Development Certificates. There's a recommendation that Council notes a report on development applications, construction certificates and complying development applications for the month of July 2025. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Montgomery and seconded by Councillor Parlett. Thank you. I'll ask the Acting General Manager to present this to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So through you, Mr. Mayor, as stated, it's just a list of all the development applications, construction certificates and complying development certificates that were issued under delegated authority during the month of July, just for council noting.
Any questions on any of them, councillors? All pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation? Aye. Thank you. All those against? Thank you, councillors. Next we move on to 13.2, Development Application, Berries Road, Grenfell. Consolidation of the two allotments and construction of a new rural supplies fertiliser storage building. We have a councillor has declared an interest, Councillor Neal, and he's left the room. Noted. The recommendation is that Council notes the reason for the decision is that the proposal largely complies with Section 415 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. 2. The development application number 8, 2025, being for the consolidation of two allotments and the construction of a rural supplies fertiliser storage building on lot 2 DP 569688 and lot 222 DP 1275415 on Berries Lane, Grenfell, to be approved by the Council subject to the recommended conditions as listed in Appendix A of the assessment report and to be signed on the delegation authority by the Acting General Manager. And at 3, the Acting General Manager registers his planning decision in line with Section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993, including the names of the councillors who supported the decision and the names of the councillors who were opposed or has taken to have opposed the decision. So we'll have to have division on this one, councillors, as well. So I'll ask the Director of Environmental Services or the Acting Director or Acting General Manager to present this to us. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I haven't moved. Second. Thank you, Councillor. We're moved by Councillor Montgomery and second by Councillor Barlett.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So through you, Mr Mayor.
Excited to get it through.
So yeah, development application 8/2025. So it's for the consolidation of 2 allotments and then the construction of a rural supplies building which will be used for fertiliser storage. So the site encompasses 2 allotments. So the current site of the Delta Ag business off Berries Road or Berries Lane down there, and also the allotment that the property owner owns immediately to the east, which adjoins it between there and the railway land. So I suppose the proposal is to consolidate those 2 allotments, so they'll be utilising the existing vehicular access and the existing facilities on the current site to build this fertiliser storage building out the back. So it'll be all on one allotment. And obviously used in conjunction with the existing business down there. So the large proportion of the site or the front portion of the site is actually located in the E4 General Industrial Zone, while the rear allotment where the actual building is going to be located is actually zoned R5, so large lot residential. So the proposed development's permissible within the industrial zone, but it's not permissible within the R5 zone. So the applicant is seeking to rely on a clause under our LEP that allows for development near zone boundaries, so clause 5.3. So that's outlined in the report. It essentially says, well, if you're within a set distance of the interface of 2 zones, you can do a development in an area which may not be permissible, as long as it's permissible in the adjoining zone. So that relative distance is 50 metres, so you will see on the site plan as part of the development plans that the proposed storage shed is within the 50 metre distance of the adjoining industrial zone, so therefore it is permissible under that clause. That clause describes that we have to still go through and do an assessment around that meeting the objectives of both zones, so that's outlined within the report. To say that we believe it does. The site is probably more reflective of an industrial block rather than an R5 block. It's probably highly unlikely that it would ever get developed for residential purposes, given that it's right adjoining to industrial properties and tucked in right next to the railway land as well. So while that's not used anymore, that it's still defined as railway land. So there's a complete assessment there. The land is identified as within the flood planning area. However, as outlined in the report, it's only identified due to the 500 mil freeboard being added to the flood level. So when you actually have a look at the flood mapping, the area inundated by flooding doesn't actually affect the area where the building is. So it's unlikely to cause any restrictions or redirect the flow of water on where that's going to be. The building itself has been designed so it's probably higher than a normal industrial building. It's been designed in a manner so that they can actually tip, so they can truck fertiliser in and they can tip that inside the building. So that's the reason why it's higher than normal. So it's got an open sort of skillion on one side. Due to the height of it, it was advertised extensively around the neighbourhood. So it was advertised in the as per our policy as well. After that initial advertising period, the applicant actually amended the site plan to change the location slightly. So that triggered us to re-advertise and re-notify the application. So there's been 2 rounds of advertising and notification. There was no submissions received in relation to that. The proposal largely complies with our development control plans. There's been an assessment done under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, and essentially there is a recommendation there that it be approved subject to appropriate conditions.
questions on the development application, councillors? No, I totally believe the changing the zoning on that is appropriate. I don't believe it's a block that anyone would want to build a house on. It's right next to other sheds, and it's right more, as you said, it's more of an industrial block than it will ever be a residential block. I think that's agreed. I was concerned at the height of it. It's a very tall building, big steel structure, and I understand they need that height for the use for their trucks. I completely understand that. I just, I thought there might have been issues with vision, or I know you say you don't own your view, but I just thought there may have been submissions from anyone living, so for instance, in West Street or something like that above it. But there doesn't appear to have been anyone. They've had two good opportunities to put a submission to if they had any objections to it. We haven't received a single objection to it, so I think.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I mean, we have gone up to West Street. It is partially screened by, obviously, there's a bit of a bank from the railway land. There's also some vegetation, some taller trees through there, so it will be partially screened from there. As you've said before, that's probably more reflective of an industrial block. There's also, if it is a separate block, there's also potential issues with access, given that if access was only from the south, which adjoins it's an unformed sort of Crown Road, or partially formed Crown Road. So for someone to get access via that road would be probably difficult. So that's hence the reason why the applicants have decided to consolidate that with their current block with the main agricultural supply business, so they can use the access off Berries Lane. Yes, the building is quite tall, but it also, I suppose, resolves some issues around dust and noise as well. So obviously the trucks, rather than being external of the building and adding sort of more noise if they're tipping and then having to transfer fertiliser from one spot into the building, they can actually do that from all within inside the building, which will hopefully limit noise and dust issues.
Councillor Bacon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Further down the track, when we look at redoing our LEP, since we've allowed this building to be built on a large lot residential, do we have to then submit later on to that area to become industrial?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we don't. What we're doing is we're approving this based on what the current zone is, to say that we're relying on that variable, that clause in the LEP to say that it's permissible. We do have this, and we have had previous discussions with the current owner of the site around potentially changing that zone, or the zone of that particular block to match in that it make it industrial. It's just a timing thing, is that we haven't got time to go through a whole planning proposal to do that, and that's probably going to be filtered into the more wider review of our LEP that we're hoping to do. And as I said, they were quite keen to try and get the ball rolling on the development, so therefore they've sort of designed it in a manner that's within that relative distance, 50 metres, and it can be approved under the current LEP.
But I agree with Councillor Macon in that in the future, if you're using it as industrial block, it should be zoned as industrial block, and they should be paying rates on industrial block. So sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yes, if we go through, we will certainly look at that, and with an earmark of trying to change the zone. So they wouldn't be bound by that 50 metre distance if they ever wanted to redevelop something further. To an extension or whatever.
Through you, obviously there's a few buildings down that Berries Lane that are predominantly industrial use. So when we look at doing the LEP, maybe that's something that we look further into.
Yeah, no, I think there'd be a few blocks around town, similar sort of situations. So. Good comment. No other comments, councillors? No questions of the director? No. That's a great report. It's a very thorough report as well. So I'll put this one to the vote. We've got to move in a second, haven't we? Yeah, move in a second. I'll put those to the vote. That we note those recommendations, points 1, 2, 3 of the actual report. All those in favour of those recommendations, please raise your hands, councillor. We need to take a... So, 1, 2, yep. So everybody's in favour? Thank you. Myself, sorry, my apologies, yes. Thank you very much, councillors. So moved, so approved. Next, we can get Councillor... Oh, Councillor Neil, so... thank you. We next move on to... We'll just wait for Councillor Neil to come back. Councillor Neal. The recommendation was passed. Unanimously, actually. Sorry? Yes, I'll just give you a chance to catch up. We're up to 221. Thank you. Right, next we move on, right? Right, you need to contact them all. So we'll move on to the development application 18/2025, the demolition of buildings and structures. This is put together by the Health and Building Services Officer. There is a recommendation, one, that Council notes the reason for the decision is that the proposal largely complies with Section 415 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Two, development application 18-2025 being for demolition of buildings and structures on lots 4A, 4B, 4G, 5, 5A, 5B, and Section 6, Section 18, DP 758473 and 78 George Street, Grenfell, be approved subject to the recommendations, conditions which are listed in the Appendix A to the assessment report. And 3, the General Manager registers his planning decision, or the Acting General Manager registers his planning decision in line with Section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993, including the names of all the councillors who supported the decision and the names of any councillors who opposed or are taken to oppose that decision. Councillors, obviously the Director and Acting General Manager has a conflict of interest, and he's declared that, has left the room, which is leaving it to me to actually present this report. However, we do have the assessing officer as well available if there's anyone wants to make any comments or questions regarding that. So this development application 18/2025 proposes the demolition of buildings and structures on the property known as 78 George Street, Grenfell. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Didn't I?
No, you didn't.
Didn't I? I'm getting ahead. I'm stressed that I'm going to present this director's report. That's what it is. Moved by Councillor Montgomery and seconded by Councillor Parlett. Thank you. And thank you for reminding me, councillors. I'm thinking about presenting this and... Sorry? Let him in? Yep, okay. Thank you. We might need him, but we'll just see. So the development application 18/2025 proposes the demolition of buildings and structures on the property which is known as 78 George Street, Grenfell, which was the former site of Oliver's Hardware. The application was lodged by SBM Planning on behalf of the owners of the site, we being that Greg and Margot Oliver. Council's assessing officer has declared an interest in the application, and therefore the development application was independently assessed by a qualified town planner from Currajong Consultants, who has prepared the development assessment report and is online with us as well. The development application is supported by the development plans showing the existing buildings, a survey plan, flood improvements impact statements, structural inspection reports, statement of heritage impacts, photographic archives, waste management plan, and a statement of environmental effects, which were all attached to the report. It indicates a concept plan for potential residential buildings on the site were submitted by the applicant for information only. However, these concept plans do not form part of this application, as this application is for demolition, I'll get it right, demolition of buildings only. The property is located within the Grenfell urban construction area, but is not a listed heritage item. The development application was advertised and notified in accordance with the requirements of the Weddin Shire Council's DCP, Development Consent Plan 2014. The exhibition materials did not include the indicative concept plans, as the work was not part of the consent being sought by Council. We have actually received 2 submissions which were as a result of the public consultation project objecting to this proposal, which have all been, their complete submissions have been in the attachments for our report. A copy of these submissions are attached to the report, with the report itself summarising the issues raised and provides a corresponding assessment of those issues. Many and most, I would say, most of the issues that were raised by the objectors all related to heritage, but an extensive statement of heritage impact report was submitted with the development application, which was prepared by Monitor Heritage Consultants. A structural inspection report was also provided by ANKN Engineering Consultants. These report makes recommendations that support the demolition of the existing buildings and the structure on the site, except for the archaeological remnants of Sipel's shop concrete footings, which has been highlighted for protection and interpretation as part of any redevelopment of the site. Conditions have been included in the recommendation to require a detailed archival and photographic record of the buildings and protection of the Sipel's shop concrete footing. Based on this assessment of the development application in accordance with Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, a recommendation of condition approval has been made. We also, I said, we have Michael Carter from Currajong Consultant if councillors have any questions regarding this assessment. I've done my best. Councillors, this is pretty important. We're talking about demolishing a building in a heritage zone. It's not heritage listed. However, it's something that we have to take careful consideration on, because once the building's knocked down, we can't rebuild it. I think it's an extremely comprehensive report. It's 330 pages long. I believe we've all read it and thoroughly understood it. There's a couple of submissions, very thorough submissions as well, but I believe there's been a lot of work done as well behind those submissions, and I think they're adequately responded to. I think Michael is on the line. Michael, did you have anything you wish to add to that, or you?
Well, good evening, Mr Mayor and councillors. So I've been furnished with all of the DA documentation. I believe the important documentation includes the Statement of Heritage Impact prepared by Monitor Heritage Consultants and the Structural Engineering Report prepared by ANKN. It's clear in the structural report it provides evidence that the buildings on the site are structurally unsound and could collapse in high winds and are recommended for removal as soon as possible. And it's clear from the Statement of the Statement of Heritage Impact, the SOE, it advises that while the site is significant, the buildings that remain aren't those significant buildings of the early settlement days of George Street. They were removed and 1930 onward structures were built. The SOE talks about those buildings being bespoke or basically fitting only one purpose, which is the old 1940s style hardware store. There's a number of loading arrangements that really don't fit in today's standards. The zoning of the land is R1 general residential, so commercial uses are no longer permitted in the zone. And there has been some good detail. You correctly summarised that the DA documentation that was submitted provided a concept diagram of a residential concept to prove that the land is fit for a residential use. That's not part of the DA documentation that's requiring consent, but it gives good visibility of future uses on the site. And appropriately, the Heritage Advisor has looked at those uses as part of the SOE work and has basically said that they're fit for purposes as well. So it was pretty clear from my weighing up of all issues, including submissions, that the development for demolition was appropriate. We've recommended conditional approval subject to 20 conditions, with a number of those conditions looking to preserve the important attributes of any elements on site that could be interpreted into the future. They being a footing detail that relates to an old shop building that was located on the site, which was the Sippel's shop, a small strip footing there. We're looking at protecting, as well as the actual timber loading doors. We're looking to preserve those for possible reinterpretation on the site or at another site within the Grenfell urban area. So, yes, Mr. Mayor, that's pretty much what we assessed as being appropriate in this case.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael at this stage? Councillor Macon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to you, Michael. So, any future just so we have clarification, any future developments on that site in the future will need to preserve those concrete footings. They can't be damaged, removed, altered. They have to stay as they are.
Correct. So there's a condition of consent that looks at preservation of those buildings. We believe that we've worded up the mechanisms to do that, where there's going to be a demolition plan, and that is going to be worked up in consultation with the demolishing contractor and the proponents, and would likely involve the heritage consultants to make sure that all parties are aware of those valuable areas, that they can be identified, and that there's no mistakes that could be made as part of that demolition process, that they're damaged or removed as part of that. So we think we've got a pretty practical condition that will protect that footing. And then, you know, going forward, I think it's a pretty easy design component to integrate that into any future redevelopment of the site. It's located pretty well at the front of the building or the area, and it's pretty practical that we could integrate that into the site design.
If it is sold, through you, Mr. Mayor, if it is sold after demolition, do the new occupants have to abide by this as well?
So the consent goes with the land, doesn't go with the proponent. And I would hazard a guess that, you know, as part of any conveyancing process, this type of documentation would be furnished with that work. And then we've also got council and taking proactive steps to make sure that any new development on the site is aware of the DA requirements. You know, council's got the records there. It would be able to furnish that with the new applicant as well.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No. Thank you, Michael, for making yourself available tonight. Thank you very much. Above and beyond, thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you. Sounds like we've all got a good understanding of it. I'll probably, councillors, if you want to, I want to say I think I commend the applicants on this, because they obviously realised that it was a sensitive matter, removing any, you know, demolishing any buildings in a heritage zone, and they've gone on above and beyond and provided some really good documentation to support it. As I said, they've got so many reports attached to it with the heritage reports and everything like that. I think they've done a really good job on addressing nearly everything that I would have brought up. So I think it's as I said, I agree with Michael. I think it's an appropriate use. Councillor Macon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just for my awareness, because I don't think I've ever seen or noticed, is there like a plaque in front of that building or around it that, like other historical buildings around it, has some information from? Is that something we could look into as a sort of a historical point of view, to maintain that historical piece?
Possibly. I mean, there is the sign across the
Goodfellows
street.
Hall and...
No, there's a sign across the street which has got the information on regarding it.
Oh, there does?
Also, they, as part of the process, they have to put to council, they put a binder with all the information in it, all the pictures, archive all the information with it. So we do keep all the information. It's
I just meant more so on the street, so when visitors come, if they see a brand new residential building that obviously something historical was there,
yes,
that they could read a plaque or read an information piece saying this was this place, this was all that jazz. Like other historical buildings around Grenfell do have, even the main
something
street.
the council obviously could consider. I wouldn't say we make it as part of the application process, but something that council
for the
could consider.
community's awareness that that's something that we could possibly look into.
Thank you. Councillor Parlett, do you want to make...
This is probably the most thorough application I've seen in over 12 years, and I commend both council and the applicant for their work, especially with the heritage thoughts behind it all, and I'm feeling very confident that, given that the situation of the the property at the moment, it is a concern, and I'm sure that we're going to come out with a good outcome at the end. And remembering too, we as council still, the process has to come back to council for our approval for whatever goes on that site. So we've still got input and at that point. So
As Mr. Carter said, like I think the engineering report was clear. It said the building will collapse partially or completely when any significant wind event happens or any additional loading is put on the floor loading. So I think that was very clear that it's something to have to address and have to do something with it. And as well, I think there's other winds in there that said the materials are over 100 years old and not reusable. So I think they've addressed reusing any of the building materials back into a new build as well. So I think it's very relevant. Councillor Maker.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, another question for Michael. Open to whoever can answer, for the building that is obviously dangerous to the community, is there parameters that can be put in place? And obviously there's neighbouring buildings to that. If we do get a big weather event and it could damage a neighbouring, is there something that would sort of make this happen? Once we approve this, they can jump straight into it?
I'm assuming so, yes. Would you answer that one, Michael?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. In that approval of the demolition would allow for the proponent to engage a contractor. There will be some requirements about access, road safety, loading, waste management that will need to be attended to. But unlike other developments that are construction projects where you need to follow further processes such as lodge a construction certificate, a demolition process is really quite straightforward to implementation. So I'd hazard a guess, depending on the proponent's position, that they could move towards actual demolition within a reasonable short time frame.
Thank you.
Very good. No other questions, councillors? No? Once again, thank you very much again, Michael. Thank you. We'll put this one to the vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation, I'll read it out again because it's important so that we know exactly what we're voting on, councillors. And as we said, it's something we have to record who it's for and against. So the recommendation is that council notes the reason for the decision is that the proposal largely complies with section 415 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act of 1979. The development application 18/2025 being for the demolition of buildings and structures on lots 4A, 4B, 4G, 5, 5A and 5B and section 18 DP 758473 78 George Street, Grenfell be approved subject to the recommendation and conditions which are listed in the Appendix A to the assessment report, and that the General Manager registers his planning decision in line with Section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993, including the names of the councillors who supported the decision and the names of any councillors who opposed or are taken to oppose this decision. So that's the recommendation, councillors. I'll put that one obviously to the vote. I think we're all pretty clear on what we're voting on, and we've had a good report, and thank you very much that we've had the assessor on the line. So we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour of those recommendations, please raise your hand. Very clearly. Everybody, myself as well, sorry. Everybody, thank you very much. And all those against, nobody. Thank you very much, councillors. So moved. We can get the... Yeah, you're right. No. Your information, the recommendations were passed unanimously. Next, we move on to delegates report. We'll get down to that one. I said a lot to get through with a 330-page report. $552, right. thing about the report, it had a lot of interesting information about George Street. It was very interesting to read a lot of it and the history of some of those buildings. Next we move on to Delegate's report for the Weddin Health Council, which was held on Monday the 16th of June. This was provided by Councillor White, who wasn't actually in attendance at the meeting, but thank you very much for providing these for the council, Councillor. And we have a mover that those... No recommendation on that one? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor. Any questions regarding that one, councillors? Any comments? No? Once again, we'll accept those minutes. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Councillor
through you,
Mayhem.
Mr. Mayor. What's the current update on redevelopment? Are we getting further along? Or are we still waiting in the wings? Or
Always still waiting in the wings.
after the news piece and all that sort of jazz?
Yeah, we're hoping that we might have some more information back in early September or during September. But once again, anything that requires both state and federal funding comes with a lot of strings attached to it. But we continue to lobby, and as our local member for Cootamundra has been doing for us as well. We all know how important it is, and we'll just continue to do that and continue to write letters and any chance we get to speak about it, we want to speak about it and say what a wonderful thing it will be for the community. 9 beds doesn't sound like much, but it's an incredible improvement to that facility. And like I said, we're talking about a major upgrade, where the initial estimates are $80 million for the initial estimates for the upgrade. And it said we might be a small community, but we need it. We've got an ageing population, and with staff, we've got the staff needing to support that. So we just got to hope that we can get some more on it. Councillor Parlett?
I just want to say too that your health council are very proactive with their advocacy, and our mayor has been involved in a lot of meetings, and it's a constant thing. We're knocking on doors and, annoying a lot of people. But yes, we're still pushing forward, and there's been a lot of work behind the scenes from that health council. So thank them very much for that support for the community.
And the work that Peter Moffat does is wonderful. Outstanding, exactly. Yep, thank you. No more comments, councillors. We don't need to put that onto the vote then. We move on to the minutes of committee meetings. We don't have any minutes tonight. And actually we'll next recommend that we move into closed council. So the recommendation is, councils, that the meeting be closed to public under section 10A2 of the Local Government Act to consider the following items. We are going to consider 16.1, the appointment of an independent member for our Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A2 of our Local Government Act 1993, and as council is satisfied that discussions on this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interests, as it deals with personal matters concerning to particular individuals other than councillors. So we are going to appoint an independent member for our Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. ARIC. 16.2, we are entering into contracts for the supply and delivery of bulk fuels. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A2C and D1 of the Local Government Act 1993, and council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the council is conducting or proposes to conduct business, and commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of that person who supplied it. So, in other words, council are seeking to accept and sign contracts for the supply and delivery of bulk fuel from the Regional Procurement Request Tendering Process, RFT S1 2025, which is a process that was undertaken by the Central New South Wales Joint Organisation. We'll move on to 16.3, which is a variation of scope and works for our Nolan's Road projects, which is funded under the Fixing Local Roads Round 4. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A2, D1 and D2 of the Local Government Act 1993, and council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it, and the information that would, if disclosed, confer commercial advantage on a competitor of council. So in this case, we are proposing council an overview of Nowlands Road project under Fixing Local Roads funding, and obtain a council resolution to approve an additional 1 kilometre of work under those the RFT 3824 and RFT 34 2024. Next, we will move on to 16.4, which is a request for tender 3/2025 for the crushing of 30,000 tonnes of DGS 40 at our Matthews pit. This matter is considered to be confidential under Section 10A2, D1 and D2 of the Local Government Act 1993, as Council is satisfied that the discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it, and the information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a competitor of the council. So we are going to propose that council do an overview of the request for tenders we've received for the crushing of 30,000 tonnes of DGS 40 at Matthews Pit, and obtain a council resolution which would award that tender to some individual. So we have a move and a second for that, council. Does anyone like to move? We're going to close council. Moved by Councillor Gorman and seconded by Councillor Montgomery. All those in favour of we moving to close council for those reasons? Thank you, councillors. All those against? So moved. Welcome back from the closed council session, councillors and anyone watching tonight or today. We move the resolutions out of closed council. 16.1, the resolution 17025 was moved by Councillor Gorman and seconded by Councillor Makin. That council notes information contained in the report, appoints the independent member Miss Meredith Cayley to Council's Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee and at the remuneration which is stated within the report to commence on the 25th of August 2025 for the period of 4 years. The motion was unanimously carried. We next move on to 16.2, which was resolution 17125. Was moved by Councillor Montgomery and seconded by Councillor Parlett. That council note the information contained in the report, accepts and signs a contract with the following organisations for the supply and delivery of bulk fuels, which is Castellan Pty Ltd trading as Inland Petroleum, Ocwen Energy Pty Ltd trading as Lowe's Petroleum Services, Petro National Pty Ltd trading as Oils Plus, and 3 the council will advise the Central New South Wales Joint Organisation of this decision. That motion was also carried unanimously. Next, we move on to 16.3, variation for the scope of works for Nallans Road projects through our Fixing Local Roads funding. Round 4 was moved by Deputy Mayor Gorman, seconded by Councillor White. That council notes the information in the report. 2, approves the variation to tender, request for tender, RFT 38 2024 and RFT 34 2024 for an additional 1 kilometre of ceiling, formation and drainage works as approved by Transfer New South Wales, resulting in a total sealed road length of 7 kilometres. 3, delegates the Acting General Manager to enter into and execute the contract variation of RFT 38 2024 and RFT 34 2024 to reflect an additional scope and the associated price with that. That also was carried unanimously. Then we moved on to 16.4, which was a request for tender for crushing of 30,000 tonnes of DGS 40 materials at Matthews Pit. The resolution was 17325, was moved by Councillor Montgomery and seconded by Councillor White. The council notes the evaluation information contained in the report regarding RFT 3 2025 and the crushing of 30,000 tonnes of DGS 40 at Matthews Pit. 2, endorses the tender 3 2025 crushing 30,000 tonnes of DGS 40 at Matthews Pit being awarded to Coopers Civil and Crushing Pty Ltd for the tendered price as which is set out in the report. 3, it also delegates the General Manager to enter into and execute the contract with an extension clause with Coopers Civil and Crushing Pty Ltd for the crushing of 30,000 tonnes of DGS 40 at Matthews Pit. The motion was unanimously carried as well. At that time, thank you very much, councillors, and thank you anyone that was watching. We'll call the meeting to an end tonight. We'll have a move in a second that we close the meeting. Moved by Councillor Rolls and seconded by Councillor Makin. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, councillors, and thank you. Thanks for the meeting tonight. Thank you for the staff as well. And hopefully pass our thank you to Brett. No, who's name? Ben. No, Michael. That's it. That like Ben. There's place Michael.